Recording in progress.
Yeah, you should be the person who does the voice that says recording in progress. They should pay you.
They should pay me. I would just sit and wait for someone to click record, and then I'd go, oh, recording in progress.
You have a very AI style voice
Oh, that's nice. I mean, I am AI, so I should
because
be.
you're Aisha.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's the first time I made that joke for sure.
Yeah. And when you get the initials of something, you tend to also take on its characteristics.
That makes me just for laughs.
That makes sense too.
I don't know. It's the first thing that came to mind. I'm sorry.
JFL? What's your middle name?
No, it's
Fiona?
an R. My middle name starts with an R.
Oh, Ross.
Hey, you're not supposed to tell the world this.
Oh.
I'm just really loud.
Just really loud. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Juicy raw lettuce.
Ew. How about jokey riff labradoodle?
Yes.
Let's get started, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to Adulthood, friends. This is the discussion-based podcast where two former childhood acquaintances, now friends, discuss the things that, adverb, Josh?
Deliberately,
the things that deliberately matter.
Deliberately, that's your adverb of the week.
And I'm Aya.
I'm Josh.
And this is episode 59 of Adulthood Friends, and deliberate doubt is what we'll be talking about today. So how do we know when we're wrong? And what tools do we have, or what questions can we ask to get to a better conclusion?
I think we know we're wrong if our name is Aya Ishai.
Oh.
And we know we're right if our name is Josh Littman.
Ha! Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe your name should be Jokey Ross Jokester. No. Joking Rhinoceros Littman. Jokey. Should we just get into it?
Yeah.
And we're back.
It's so good to be back, Aya.
It is. It's great to be back, Josh. I'm so glad that you said that.
For the first time.
For the first time. I've just decided to lean into it because, like, you're clearly going to say that every time. And
yeah.
I don't want to be the person who's annoyed at something that I can't change. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What you drinking? Tea.
I'm just drinking Moroccan mint tea.
Oh, delightful.
That's right. It is. Look at me. I'm all healthy.
Yeah.
Lost a bunch of weight.
Did you?
Yeah, I've lost like 15 pounds since so last time we spoke, I was actually sick, if you recall.
Yeah.
It turned out I had COVID.
Oh.
I had COVID for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Well, then maybe it was about time. I don't know. We all got it.
It was about time. You're like, good.
Yeah.
You thought you were better than us.
I mean, not good, but like, yeah, way to think you're better. So you lost 15 pounds on COVID? I want to lose 50 pounds.
No, but that helped though.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not the only reason. But yeah, I had COVID and that was not fun, but I was sick and then I was not sick. And yeah, what have you been up to since the last time we recorded? It was with Jacob. We did that episode on gun violence. Today, of course, We're going to be a little more or a little less divisive, hopefully. Well, I don't know how divisive
I was surprised that was divisive at all, to be honest.
It was
my
a real
expectation
debate.
Was that we would all have the same. Yeah, I thought we would all have like, oh yeah, guns bad, let's stop with them. I was surprised. So that was
it was nuanced.
Great guest to have on, and I was excited that I got to meet Jacob because you talk about him all the time. And it's like annoying when people talk about this person that you've never met and you're like, I don't care, I don't even know who this person is.
Now you know who he is.
Now I can pretend to care.
He's a good guy. He's a smart guy.
He does seem like a good guy and a smart guy. Yeah.
This is for you, Jacob, when you're listening to this episode.
I don't. Yeah.
Well, nice and warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. I can't remember it right now. It's one of those things like
you're too focused on the episode.
Yeah, I'm too focused. I'm too ready. I mean, I was in a different part of the room before, so like we've been moving stuff around.
I see this. It's a different room.
Yeah, right. So it's the same room.
Oh, it's the same room, but a different side of the room.
A different side of the room. So it used to be over there.
Look at you. You made your bed. I did not. I did not make the bed.
Yeah, this is the guest bed, but yeah. Oh. It is my old bed though.
Well, you made the guest bed.
Yeah.
You've noticed anything different here?
You're in a different apartment completely.
Yeah, I've also moved in now. I finished moving. That was stressful. Moving sucks. And I'm not even done. We're gonna move somewhere else.
I hate moving so much. I know. So you're doing the same thing I had to do. And it's really, it's not, I don't recommend it. Like moving out of my place, I was lucky I had a place to move to, but like moving into Joel's place and then from there moving to this place, I don't know, you're like double
moving,
like uprooted, double uprooted.
Yeah.
Like you're uprooted into a temporary space and it's just not
And you don't even know if you can get settled down and cozy because you probably have to move again, you know?
exactly. And like,
Yeah.
and you're kind of trying to fit your stuff into someone else's place. And it's just not the same as just having your own place. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. And we put up our pictures and we did all their stuff. And
Oh, yeah. It looks nice.
yeah, thanks. Yeah. I want
Except for all the pictures that are on the ground in front of my view.
So this is the only room that's not pictured. Yeah. Okay. All right. Relax. Okay. Like your place doesn't have any pictures. So
That's not true. You just can't.
well,
Yeah,
I
look at
can't
the
see them. If I took you around the apartment, you would see everything.
pictures.
Okay. I'm not gonna say anything because it's Ethan's apartment, not yours. But like
Exactly.
that's
Well,
just
don't
like
worry. We're
3 pictures.
look. This is a mixture of us trying to. You can even see my
Right.
stuff in the back here.
Oh,
Just
that's
like
yeah.
it's a temporary situation. So
Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, I haven't been up to too much, enjoying the summer a little bit. I went to Brockville to visit my friend Adriana. She's here in Canada for a bit.
hey,
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. And her little kid, she's a little baby. Oh, a little baby. Oliver.
that's cool. Friends with babies.
Yes, friends with babies. I have a lot more friends with babies than I used to. People keep having babies.
That makes sense given our age.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. And we'll be going
Yeah.
to Alberta next week to like Banff and Canmore.
I hear Banff is beautiful.
I've heard the same, and neither of us has ever been, so that'll be fun.
Oh, let me know.
I will. Yeah. I must say you look very pale, Josh. Are you okay? Is it like normal pale or is it like the lighting makes you look extra
I think
pale?
it's the lighting. I have like lighting from outside shining.
Oh,
It's a
gotcha.
different webcam.
Gotcha. Yeah. I apologize for pointing that out, but I also was just like
That or I'm dying.
very curious.
I,
No, I mean it's classic Josh paleness. I just thought like I don't remember being
Josh
that
paleness.
pale. Like, don't you live in Los Angeles? Couldn't you have like a great tan all the time?
I don't tan. I always tell people I'm like the Canadian flag. It's either red or white. There's nothing in
That's
between.
funny. All right. Well, that's a shame.
You know what I did recently? Now that I recall,
What did you do?
well, two things. One, I went to a film festival, a big film festival called the LA Shorts International Film Festival, where my film therapist screened. And that was like a nice big event. And it was all, we got dressed up fancy. And
Well, it's very exciting. Sorry, I have food. I didn't mean to take that at that moment, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It was a really great time just bringing all these people together that I made this movie with to watch our work and a bunch of other films as well.
Cool.
It's one of my favorite things. Just be.
I'm one of the co-creators of Therapists, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. And like, if special thanks as a co-creator, then yes.
I'm a special thankser. I'm a special thank person.
Thanky.
Thanky, that's the word. Yeah. I'm a special thanky. Thanky.
And then I wrapped the last scene. I think we did basically a pickup. It's kind of called of F Minor, that other film that
I very cool
that I made.
What's a pickup? Sorry.
Pickup is like if you missed
pick up sticks.
shooting something. If you missed shooting something the last time, you kind of meet again to shoot that thing.
Pick it up.
To pick it up, basically. So we picked up those shots.
All right, cool.
It was nice. It was kind of a chill way to go out because usually filming is very stressful, but when you just have like a few shots, like we had to get a shot of a cake being cut.
Right.
I missed that. So then you spend like way too much time, like because you have nothing else to do really. So we're just like took a long time setting up this cake being cut. Or also a flashback sequence that we shot. We had to work with a kid. So
fun.
Yeah, shooting with kids is so the movie I told you involves some dark subject matter, right? Involving a music teacher who might be who is a pedophile. And we tried to talk about the dark subject matter with the child and his mom, but when we were casting him on the phone, he was like, my mom doesn't care how dark or how adult it is as long as I'm in a movie.
Oh, well, that's dark. That is dark. That fact is kind of dark, Josh.
And I'm like, okay,
he
well,
doesn't give a shit what I'm doing as long as I'm in a movie. Oh my God. No wonder child stars grow up all fucked up.
I mean, he seemed fine.
No offense. I'm sure he's
this
great.
He seemed fine. His mom seemed cool. But I was like, you sure you don't want to? No, this is a pretty dark subject matter. He's like, it doesn't matter. It's fine. It's cool. So while I'm there,
yikes,
I didn't tell him much more. He's sitting down in this flashback sequence where his music teacher is teaching him how to play. And he turns to me at one point. And he goes, "Is he a pedophile?"
Oh,
and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay.
Oh man.
And then we just
How
continue.
old is this kid?
He's 12.
Oh, okay. I guess old enough to be aware of.
Yeah. And then when his mom came back a little later, like when we were wrapping up, she started asking about where, it might be able to be seen when it was done,
Mm.
or we might showcase it. And I was basically telling her, like, I think I said something like, well, you're not going to see it on Disney.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She's like, oh, is it more of an adult film?
Yeah.
Which I thought I was kind of clear about before. But I was like, yeah, the subject matter is pretty adult. And then the kid just yells out, it's got pedophiles in it.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, ah.
Okay. And she was like, oh, that's fine. As long as he's in a movie.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
She didn't say that, but she didn't also say anything negative about that. I don't know.
You don't want to badmouth people that might listen to this and be like, we heard you talking about us on that podcast you do. Is that what's happening right
Honestly, they were great to work with. I really
now?
don't have
Oh, that's
anything bad to
nice.
say.
Lovely. That's great.
They were actually some of the most chill people to come on and work with us. Yeah.
Oh.
I kept offering the kid food and he wouldn't. His name was Simon. I kept offering him food and he didn't want to have any of our snacks. I'm like, we bought all these snacks for you.
Wow. Got to keep that film body.
Wow.
What? I don't know. Aren't actors like concerned about how they look?
Like kid actors? I don't know.
I would hope not, but I don't know. I hear of lots of toxic behaviors.
Yeah, because people like you on podcasts say things like that.
Exactly. I'm the reason. Yeah, I'm eating. I would have eaten all your snacks. Bring those snacks over here. I'll take care of them for you. What kind of snacks did you guys have?
This is some pretty good snacks. You know what? I'm gonna make the executive decision to not answer that.
I want to hear about the snacks. Maybe they weren't good snacks. Maybe you were like, I gave him some celery sticks and I don't know why he wasn't interested. Not that you talk like that.
That's exactly how I direct actors, Aya.
Yeah. No, but seriously, what snacks did you have? Just say one of the things that you had. What's the best thing you think you had?
I mean, one of the best things, Ethan made hummus for us and we didn't even eat it there.
Don't you mean hummus?
I mean hummus.
Just as a side note for everyone listening to this, hummus with the is the original way of saying what you
the
call
correct
hummus.
way, you might say.
Correct. Yeah. Well, correct in the same way that anything that comes from a different language is correct, but it's been anglicized to hummus. If you go to a store and you ask for hummus, they're gonna be like, I don't know what you're saying. If you go to a store here in London, Ontario. So hummus is now kind of the word for that. Unfortunately, like not unfortunately, that's just the way it is. But yes, you're right. The original is hummus. But like, I'm not going to go around insisting on calling it that.
You have to sound like you're coughing up a lung every time you say it.
Yeah, or like at least horking up some kind of phlegm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was saying hummus really well when I had COVID.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all were.
Where are we going with it? What are we talking about?
Okay, so your girlfriend made hummus? Or hummus?
You do not want to talk about this.
No, that sounds good. That sounds delicious. Although I would say that is not necessarily a child's snack.
Blueberry muffins. We had blueberry muffins.
That's pretty good. Did you have chocolate chip muffins?
We did not, just blueberry. But you know what? Blueberry muffins are great.
Okay.
If they're carrot muffins, I don't know.
Do you have anything chocolate chip related?
We did not. I don't think.
Mm.
Oh, you're just judging us for not having anything chocolate chip related?
I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like,
are you trying to wonder if you
can maybe see why a 12-year-old will not be concerned, would not be like, oh yeah, a blueberry muffin. Like maybe he just ate.
Are you trying to decide whether or not you would come on a film set? What are you talking about? We had other stuff.
No, I
don't
come on
remember
anyways. Any free food is good for me. I'm not picky.
We had Welch's fruit snacks.
Oh, those are good. Those little mini.
That's the traditional craft service treat.
Nice.
On a film set.
Okay, well then I don't know why he didn't eat them, because that sounds pretty delicious.
Anyways, we wrapped our movie. F minor is now officially visually wrapped, and now I'm just working on the post-production.
Nice.
Yeah, so film festival, movie. I've been moving.
Yeah, you're very busy.
And then the last thing to mention is that I'm going to Canada in September and maybe October as well for the Forest City Film Festival.
Cool.
Yeah, September I'm going because I got into this film financing forum, or it's called a co-production market, with my producer for that film I mentioned, John Espoir, about the Canadian woman who rescues his Haitian child with hydrocephalus. We're basically going to meet a bunch of production companies in Halifax, Nova Scotia at this exclusive event. It's called Fin Partners, and hopefully we'll find the financing to make this movie.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, so I'll be going to Nova Scotia, and then we'll also be going to Toronto and London.
Cool.
So hopefully I will see you in September.
Big news. Yeah, no promises. I might be busy.
Okay, well.
Oh, I'll make sure to see you. No, you should come. We have a spare bedroom here. You and Ethan come stay here.
Oh, so we'll just stay at your place. I won't stay at my dad's.
Yeah. I mean, you can stay at your dad's. You're welcome to stay wherever. I wanted to offer because I knew that you already have a place to stay. So that way I'm the nice person who offered, but I
Oh.
actually don't have to follow through with it.
What if I take you up on it then?
That's fine. I'll accept it. And then I'll be like, oh, is your dad going to be sad that you're not at his place? Maybe you should go there.
And I'll say, I don't care. I'm coming over.
Well, then I guess I made my decision. That's fine. I don't actually care.
Yeah.
I made my bed. I didn't really make my bed, but I kind of made my bed. Yeah.
That somehow came full circle. Okay.
Alrighty.
Deliberate doubt.
Yeah, let's get into this actual topic here.
I'm deliberately doubting whether or not we should have talked so much about all this other stuff first.
I agree. But you know what? You get to decide. You can cut whatever.
I never do.
I know. Well, that seems like a you problem. So yeah, let's talk about deliberate doubt. So how do we even, I wouldn't mind starting off with, let's tell a little story.
You don't want to ask what deliberate doubt even is first?
No, we'll get to that.
Oh.
We'll get to that. But like, let's start to how we even got to this concept, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I listen to a podcast, and often I'll recommend podcasts to Josh, and he'll be like, "Oh no, I don't listen to podcasts. I just make one." And I was like, "You know what? You'll like this one." And he was sick with COVID, so he actually listened to it. Not only did you listen to it, Josh, you listened to it much faster than I did. So I sent you. I was like, I started listening to this.
I listened to it all in one day,
and then you just listened to all of it, and you're like, by the way, there's a topic here that I think will be perfect for whatever for our podcast. So
well, it was something that would inspire a topic that would be perfect for a podcast.
That's what I meant. Yeah. Oh, you didn't want to just copy the exact thing that they did on that podcast on our podcast.
I mean, so that podcast was The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling.
Yes.
Which I'm sure, well, I think probably a lot of people have heard about. And to some people, I guess it's controversial because J.K. Rowling has been controversial lately to a lot of people. But it was the podcast was basically an interview with J.K. Rowling, but more than that.
It's more that it gives a lot of background information too on like the history of.
Yeah, it was 7 episodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the history of kind of where we got to maybe in society and our discourse. I think they compared and contrasted like Tumblr and 4chan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting.
And considered those to be these two major like cultures that we've it's kind of our left and right now in many ways.
Yeah. And where like a lot of those terms came out that were like people kind of being on the extreme of either side, either like quote unquote being woke or being kind of anti-woke, if you want to call it that. That's a huge oversimplification, but basically like, yeah, those two opposing cultures that are kind of extremist and they feel like they have to be just to differentiate themselves from each other. It's kind of like that polarization of discourse.
Basically was talking about the polarization of discourse there in a way. And I mean, that was one aspect of it. And of course, the big thing to get to was J.K. Rowling's views on, because she made a lot of comments regarding trans people and gender discourse. The minefield even had it. We don't want to get into any of that. Yeah.
We don't want to get into any of that. And I think part of what was interesting with her even being interviewed is that the reason she took the interview, it's not like other people haven't tried, was because
who the interviewer was.
Exactly. So Megan Phelps-Roper, who was brought up, I'm forgetting, like Westboro
Baptist Church.
Yeah. So they're very extreme. And she was brought up that way when she was little.
They were known for picketing funerals.
Picketing funerals.
What, like gay soldiers or something? Like what were they?
Yeah, like really messed up. I don't remember the exact, but yeah, picketing.
Really horrible stuff like that,
And like just the worst things that you see on picket signs that are like, God hates gay people. Like
God hates fags. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I didn't even want to say that one. Ugh. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing that she was brought up with. And she came to different understandings of the world by talking to people that she disagreed with. So by talking to her like opponents, people who looked past the fact that this person is doing these horrible things and protesting at funerals and yelling at people, and someone who is willing to kind of cross that barrier and have a conversation with her are the reason that she kind of came to a different understanding. So she's in a unique position of wanting to have those difficult conversations.
Seeing the extremes.
And seeing the extremes and being willing to have...
Sorry, not just seeing the extremes. She lived the extremes. She believed the extremes.
Right. Okay, so there's an article from Spectator News that talks about Megan Phelps-Roper. So she says, I think what makes questioning your beliefs so important is that it's easy to forget as we lived our day-to-day lives that there's so much outside of our awareness and our experience that can and should change our positions. Yeah, and she goes on and it says, we can, as humans, be very resistant to change and experiences that conflict with our understanding of the world. I think that if we can encourage a culture of being open to those things, then that is one way we can counter our own biases and groupthink. So
Yeah.
it's really about the importance of opening dialogues and not being afraid of ideas that are different to
Yeah.
yours.
And not just with others, but with ourselves in a way,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
questioning ourselves in a way that's extremely uncomfortable. And what I found most fascinating about that podcast, Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, which was kind of sensationally titled,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, it was whether or not you think it was a balanced look at all the sides or whatever, I think it definitely dealt with nuance and cared about trying to do that and get into the humans behind all of this. And it wasn't really, the whole point of it wasn't to be like, this person's right and this person's
Yeah,
wrong, but
not
to
at all.
understand, first of all, what is it you actually think? Let's
Mm-hmm.
take the time to really see if we're saying these things correctly. And why do you think it, and where does it come from? Then also, and most interestingly, was what if you're wrong?
Yeah.
And I thought that was, that's such an important question to ask. I mean, we tend to ask other people that more, but to ask ourselves,
Yeah.
that's a tough one, because when we think we're right, we don't question whether we're wrong. It's just because we think we're right. It's something you kind of have to train yourself to do.
And it can be hard to even question whether or not you're right when you've done certain things based on those beliefs already. So like for Megan Phelps-Roper, for example, if she's already done these things like protesting at funerals, I know that's the one we keep bringing up, but that's a very extreme example. If she's already done these things, then admitting or like even questioning her own beliefs requires her to look back and question all those things that she thought she had done for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And now be like, oh, I did a horrible thing. So you really have to like face yourself a little.
But to get there, and I hope this is not like a spoiler for the podcast and the stuff that she's talking about, but if it is, skip ahead. But this is just her talking about.
People won't know till they hear it. But yeah, if you're
Yeah.
considering listening, maybe skip
Yeah,
ahead.
if you're considering that she talks about at one point, coming to those conclusions eventually where she was kind of wrong in her beliefs, but pointed out they weren't a bunch of like redneck hicks who like were in the Westboro Baptist Church. Like it was doctors and lawyers and philosophers and all kinds of people who were otherwise intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet held these beliefs. And so she often thought that she was questioning whether or not she was wrong.
Yeah.
But then realized she had a couple of core beliefs that she didn't even come near questioning for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And those were these core beliefs kind of were these like the foundation of her incorrect beliefs. Mm-hmm. And once she questioned those, everything came crumbling down. Right. And I think it was something like the belief that the Bible is the word of God. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is that the Westboro Baptist Church interpretation of the Bible is the correct interpretation.
Right. Sorry, you're saying the Bible isn't the word of God? Is that what you're suggesting, George?
Whether or not it is, these were the two core beliefs that she had to question to kind of see the light, right? And realize the amount of pain that her actions were causing. And it's interesting. She talked about it, like it's almost like listening to two different people,
right?
If you know who she was before and now, but she's very, we'll say, deliberate to point out that they're not two different people. That was her. Mm-hmm. And this is her. And it's amazing what this shift in questioning your beliefs can do. It can almost make you seem like a different person, right?
Right.
That was, I think, an inspiration definitely for me, and I think for you too.
Yeah.
In talking about this concept, which I don't think they talked about it being called that in that podcast, but
I don't think they called it deliberate doubt, but you found that term because we were trying to find exactly what to call it.
We were like, are we going to call this skepticism? Because skepticism isn't necessarily the same thing, and it's also not necessarily self-focused. And then skepticism is also, I don't know, they sometimes can refer to it as indiscriminate skepticism, where you're just skeptical of everything.
Too much skepticism. And if you're in that boat, like you're not necessarily able to do anything because you're too stuck questioning everything all the time, which I think I'm more likely to do indiscriminate skepticism. But you know what? That's not true. I'm pretty sure about certain things too.
That's not true. No, I think conspiracy theorists and, when people get like, that's like indiscriminate skepticism where you're just like
nothing is true. Ever.
You can't trust anyone or anything. And you're just overly skeptical of everything. Like that's not really using your critical thinking, in my opinion.
Right.
The idea that you just have to question everything. So you should question everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean be equally skeptical of everything and everyone, right? There are things that indicate whether you should be more or less skeptical.
Right.
And so, we're talking about purposeful, deliberate doubt.
It's like focused doubt.
You're using it as it's a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's focused.
You don't just like use a hammer on everything. You use it on some specific things.
Yes, exactly. And I definitely wouldn't call deliberate doubt a hammer, though. I would say it's more of a Phillips head. It's a Phillips head.
An Allen key.
Yeah, it's an Allen key.
It's an Allen key. It's good for a lot of things, but in a specific way. And most of the kits where you're building things will actually come with it. No, that's not true. It won't. You have to bring your own Allen key. So maybe it is more like a Phillips head.
Have you been using these tools recently?
You know what? Yeah, because I moved into a new place, so we built a bunch of stuff.
It sounded like
so I was like, I have Allen keys on the mine. And I have so many Allen keys. Okay, unrelated.
Okay, so do you mind if I define deliberate doubt for us?
As long as you do so deliberately, doubtfully.
Isn't it great, the alliteration, to define deliberate doubt?
Oh, define deliberate doubt.
Feels good, right?
Yeah. Deliberately define deliberate doubt.
Deliberate doubt. Deliberate doubt is the practice of actively questioning our beliefs and assumptions. It is about suspending our certainty and letting go of our preconceived notions in order to explore new ideas and perspectives.
Yeah.
And so by turning doubt into a deliberate process, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and allow our minds to wander in unexpected directions.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Can I ask you what this is from as well? So we could just.
This is from nestlabs.com. And
who's the author?
Just an article on deliberate doubt, the art of questioning our assumptions.
Oh, okay. Who's it by? Anyone?
Anne-Laure Le Cunff.
I'm sorry, what? Josh.
Are you making this is the joke I made to you when you said it before.
When I read it out, and
I was like, what's your language?
Yeah. I was like, Cunff. It's hard not to make a almost T sound there. Anyways, no, this is serious subject matter.
Is she the person who came up with the term?
I don't know. So we should figure that out. But
no, I don't know.
It's definitely mentioned in that article, and that's the article that you sent to me as well, and that I looked over. Yeah, and go ahead.
Anyways, it is a tool, right? So as it describes it here, it is a thinking tool for systematic curiosity, right? And I think systematic is a good word here because I don't know. I think of deliberate. I think of systematic.
Yeah.
I think of a process.
That's great. Yeah.
And I think that this is a process that we can learn.
I agree. And we have even like a list of questions that, again, this is from that podcast, the last episode. So from Megan Phelps-Roper, these are questions for herself that allow her to trust her own thinking.
Yeah, she has her own deliberate doubt process, right?
Exactly. She has her own deliberate doubt process. So she says, can I list them?
Yeah, let's list these questions because I think these questions are great. Again, if you listen to that podcast, I don't know if she asked J.K. Rowling these questions, but J.K. Rowling answered them. Yeah,
she asks those final questions in the context of of questioning your own certainty. She says, what if you're wrong? That kind of thing. Which is...
Well, she was, if I recall, and it was kind of funny in the episode, she was kind of I think she was just pointing out these questions that she asked herself and was going through them.
Yeah.
And J.K. Rowling just started answering. So anyways, we get to hear J.K. Rowling's answers to these as well. But yeah, these questions themselves and the way that she created this process for herself, I think is something that is very important to share. Take it away, Aya.
Okay. So are you capable of entertaining real doubt about your beliefs, or are you operating from a position of certainty? Can you articulate the evidence that you would see in order to change your position, or is your perspective unfalsifiable? Can you articulate your opponent's perspective in a way that they recognize, or are you straw manning? So are you just straw manning, giving do we know what that is? Do we need to define that?
Yeah, it's like when you create
giving a fake
false opponent in the argument, basically, one that doesn't even exist. Like you're arguing against who you arguing against, kind of, right? You created a straw man.
Yeah, like not a real person. It's a straw man. It's something you created just to make it easy to disprove. Yeah.
Like you're not actually arguing against the other argument. You're arguing against an argument in your mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are you attacking ideas or attacking the people who hold them? Yeah, that's a good one too. Are you willing to cut off close relationships with people who disagree with you, particularly over small points of contention? And lastly, are you willing to use extraordinary means against people who disagree with you? So those are all good questions to be asking. And
her questions extend a little, let's be fair, a little beyond deliberate doubt, I would say.
Right.
In terms of questioning your beliefs, and also to some greater ideas about, it's more about finding the truth and finding out if you're wrong. It's really all about that. Deliberate doubt, that's part of that. But I think I just wanted to point out, I think her questions extend a little beyond that.
Yeah, I think they're just specific to questioning your own beliefs, and like especially those really strong beliefs that make you
Yeah.
feel that you need to cut off anybody who disagrees with you, or all of those things.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, like the cutting off people who disagree
I
with
think it
you.
would be fun to try to do this
With each other, huh?
Let's try to question. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I don't know what kind of beliefs you have.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Well,
Let's both answer for each one. What do you say?
we need to pick a belief first, don't we?
Any belief? Oh, do we have to pick a belief?
I feel like we would have to be specific about it. If I just ask you, are you capable of entertaining real doubt about your beliefs?
The answer is yes. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So,
We need a
well,
belief. I don't want to wait. I have to pick
well, how about, yeah,
one.
pick something. Pick some, not, it doesn't have to be belief, like a religious belief. It needs to be like something that you strongly believe. What do you strongly believe, Josh?
I strongly believe that we should have deliberate doubt.
Do you believe that the tax should be rich, or the tax should be rich? The
should be
rich should be taxed.
The problem is even these ones. Well, part of the reason I really like this topic and talking about this stuff is because I try not to have unnuanced, strong,
Right.
non-nuanced beliefs.
That's true. You are very good at having nuanced beliefs. I will say that I think you're more open than most people to other people's beliefs, to entertaining. Like a lot of people will just be like, this is what I believe. I don't need to talk to someone who believes this crazy thing. Why would I do that? Whereas you come from a position of curiosity most of the time. And I think you do a good job. Not to I don't know. I don't need to toot your horn either. Like, you're fine. But
I think you do too.
Well, thanks. Okay, let's try to find an example of where we have questioned our own beliefs.
Well, let's take our last episode on gun violence.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's a good example.
I used to just have the belief straight up that we should just take away everybody's guns.
Right.
And I live in America now. I'm from Canada, but I live in the USA now. And there's a part of me that still thinks in an ideal world that would help.
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot about the context of this place and what is maybe the most practical solutions. And instead of jumping to kind of potential endpoint, because it reminds me, I had a conversation once with this guy who basically, I used to work with him. And I think I've pretty I've gotten more like left wing beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some, I want to say, I'm afraid to again define myself as any one of these things, like I'm socialist or anything like that.
Right. Because you don't like just jumping into a belief system without any nuance.
Yeah, I don't, because I think there's always pros and cons of all these things, and they don't work for everybody. And that's kind of what I want to point out is this one guy was basically saying, I think that in an ideal world, communism is the way to go. He was telling me how what are the facets of communism? Like the state, completely like kind of collectivist culture, no individualism and that stuff. And point, everybody just takes on roles, but nobody.
There's no hierarchy, or there's no.
Yeah, there's no.
I don't know.
Personal,
that sounds like a very specific type.
I would say it like
no personal property, like no.
Yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
all that stuff. But he described a world that was like, he's like, yeah, I would just want to live like, let's get back to nature. And it was a very kind of simple, idealistic view that he's like, this would be better for everybody. This is the answer. This is perfect. He was telling me. I was like, well, I know that it's not. And he's like, well, how do you know? I'm like, because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like living in that world. So it's clearly, if there's anyone else like me.
What do you have against nature, Josh? Jeez.
I like nature, but that's not my point.
Yeah,
I like some of nature.
I'm being a dick. Okay.
I didn't say some of that very well, but the point being that there are people, taking away everyone's guns is really just attached to my feeling and belief on something that does belong to other people. It's a little bit not nuanced. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, even in that last episode, I think you heard me I've been more on the train of, okay, what is a practical way of regulating this thing that so many people want to have despite the dangers of it?
Yeah.
Because we live in a democratic society. You can't just decide to take everybody's guns. No. Everybody who lives in the society are supposed to be part of who's coming up with the rules of society.
Right.
And there's enough people that want something that we have to figure out, okay, we can't just get rid of these things necessarily. We have to regulate it. So my belief shifted, my nuanced belief shifted towards regulation rather than taking everything away.
Right.
So that's an example for me.
Okay.
But that came from having to talk to other people on kind of the other side of these issues.
Yeah.
And then questioning my own beliefs.
Yeah. And I think a way to kind of also just I don't want to call this an easy way, but anytime you feel like there's the answer, it's like, oh my God, I found the answer to something for everyone. That's probably something that's a belief that.
So 2 + 2 does not equal 4, Aya?
Well, that's different. That's not okay. I mean, like the answer in a larger sense, like, oh, the answer to the world is this, or the answer to everyone's problems is Jesus. No offense to Jesus, but like, whatever. Like, you're not that great. Just kidding. Just kidding. Or like, I don't want to pile on religion, but like, the answer is libertarianism. Nobody has any, or communism, any of those isms where it's oversimplified into like, this is the root of all evil.
Ideology.
Any of those, any ideologies like that are an easy one to like apply these questions to, and to see how much of what you believe is an unexamined belief.
Yeah. And it's also important to point out that when you do decide on something as our solution, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the answer.
Right.
It's just the decision. Because usually when you have to decide on things for a lot of people, really what you're doing is trying to find the best solution for the most amount of people.
Right. Utilitarianism.
Utilitarianism.
Yeah.
Utilitarianism.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Or at least to protect the weakest or things like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Some people confuse that with being the answer or being correct,
Right.
because it's very likely that that won't be the answer for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's just the decision that we made.
Or in every facet of life. Right.
So we can make decisions that aren't the answer necessarily, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
And I think we get confused. We want to have simple yes, no's.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a simple, oh, like, so like the Jews are behind everything. Like that's a simple, that's when you get into conspiracy theories, or like overly.
Yeah, only some Jews are behind everything.
Only some Jews, exactly. Not all of them. We're not doing all that stuff. Shh, don't tell. Yeah. And I mean, I subscribe to some isms. For example, I would consider myself a feminist.
That's an ist.
You know, feminism is.
Oh, feminism. Okay.
Feminism. Yeah. Yes. You're a communist, but you believe in communism, right?
Yeah.
That's how the English language works, Josh. Okay. And for example, sometimes you have to defend whatever you, not even defend what you believe, but like question what you believe in a certain way. So like I had a friend, I've probably mentioned this before, but I had a friend who was really into Jordan Peterson. This was like at the height of Jordan Peterson's success and influence, I guess. He had seen all the videos and he was like, no, he's not anti-feminist. He's just saying, you know, this and that. We don't have to get into the specifics, but I could have just been like, no, he's a misogynist and so are you. And I was like, you know what? This is a person I respect. I would like to figure this out. So I, as a, you know, deliberately doubtful, thoughtful, lovely person, went and
amazing person,
incredible person, borrowed Jordan Peterson's book from the library. Didn't buy it or anything, but you know. And I read his book and I was like, all right, I'm willing to have an open mind. I wasn't reading like, there are good things. Like there are with most things that you let people glom onto have something in them. It's not like people are just like, ooh, I like this guy because he hates women. Like, no, there was a lot to it that I was like, oh, I see. That's like kind of some basic good advice. Oh, I see what he's trying to say there. But there were also a lot of things where it was like, that's not a proper source. That's not a thing that like you can use to prove this other thing.
That's anecdotal.
Yeah, that's anecdotal. That's a biblical source. That's, you can't prove some like evolutionary, what is that called when they what's the,
you talking about his whole lobster thing?
Yeah, he has a lobster thing, but he's a lot of things. So hi, Joel. Hi.
Hey, Joel.
Maybe I'll close the door. So
no, I want to see Joel when he walks by.
You want to see Joel when he walks by? All right.
Yeah. Oh, here he comes again. It's just his hand.
So yeah, like evolutionary, what's the word? Is it evolutionary biology? He has like he tends to cherry pick a lot of things and say like, oh, women actually do, because of childbearing, they should actually be in the home. I'm giving him like a straw man argument right now, so I don't want to do that. But anyways, I feel like I engaged fully with those opposing ideas to figure out whether or not I could fit parts of it into my belief system, whether I was just being like hard-headed and refusing to listen, all of that stuff. So yay me.
That's great. I think that's exactly.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah.
No, I think that's important. And I've realized this is actually a huge problem, that people fall on sides of a line.
Yeah.
To a lot of people, right? We can take personalities that we know of as an example, right? By the way, this doesn't just affect us listening to them, but it affects them too, and kind of what they choose to talk about, or what they feel they have to, what narrative they have to follow, because they're known for, now this is their audience.
Right.
So this goes a few different ways. For me, as someone who's also more left-leaning, will say already that, like, that's my more nuanced way of saying that, and I still don't like it. because it doesn't go with the ebbs and flow of
What is it that you don't
reality.
like saying? Sorry, I was distracted by realizing that Joel didn't hear you say hi because I have headphones on.
Oh, he saw me wave though.
He did see you wave. Okay, everything's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, sorry. My social anxiety took over and was like, wait, this person doesn't know what this person was saying. Okay, sorry. So what is it that
Left
makes
leaning
you
is what I was just
left?
saying.
Oh, left leaning makes you. Yeah,
Even
because you're
that.
pretty left leaning.
I mean, it's weird how I get uncomfortable
Yeah.
when you say that, even though I think it's probably more true than not. But like,
Is it because you don't come from a left leaning background necessarily? Like you were taught that
I
was
don't
not.
know. It's because I don't want, in my mind, because we've described this as left and right. And in my mind, it sounds like the right answer to anything should be the center. But
I see what you mean. Yeah.
the more I talk and what seems to,
Yeah.
I don't know, the more I get into things, the more that seems to encapsulate my views.
Right. And I mean, I think there are it also depends where
Or
you
what I
are. It depends what
prioritize.
the issue is. Yeah. Because on different issues, you're probably quote unquote left versus right. And there's
Yes.
different. So yeah.
So I also then therefore try not to ascribe evil to these things as well, like left or right.
Like right wing nut jobs.
Yeah.
There's only some right wing nut jobs. There's lots though. But there are left wing nut jobs too.
So let me ask you, is Ben Shapiro a right wing nut job?
You know, I haven't listened to his stuff recently,
Oh,
but I would consider him a nut job, but I definitely disagree with most of the things that I've heard him say.
but you started off by saying he's a nut job, right?
Well, he
Wait,
holds
Aya,
beliefs that I don't agree with, and he's very aggressive about it. So,
would you say that you just attacked the person and not the idea right there?
yeah, I did. Yeah, but I remember
Yeah.
him as a person that I disagree with. So therefore, he is
He's a nut
worthy of
job.
he's a nut job. So, yeah,
Because you disagree with somebody, they're a nut job.
exactly. Yeah, is that not what we're trying to tell everybody right now? I'm just kidding. No, if I disagree, it doesn't mean they're a nut job. It just the way that he goes about things is he's very aggressive about his ideas and he's obnoxious. So
You just don't like his personality as well. Okay.
I definitely don't like and I don't like that he wears like the kippah, like the yarmulke as
Because you
people.
think he's representing Jews now, and that's
Yeah, and I'm like, hey,
problematic.
get out of there. Don't represent us. Yeah.
He definitely has a bunch of views that I don't agree with, maybe even majority. But what people do when they come across that usually is it becomes very difficult for them to see anything
Right.
in there that they do. Like I actually will listen to Ben Shapiro, and then I will sometimes hear a bunch of stuff that does make sense. He's being totally smart about this. In fact,
like
sometimes he is the voice of reason on a couple things. I don't want to say what those things are, and I don't even remember what they might be.
Tell us so we can attack you.
I don't remember what they might be right now, but I just remember seeing that from time to time. And then I get these uncomfortable thoughts of like, I'm supposed to not like him, right?
Yeah.
And he's wrong because he's on this side of the line.
Yeah. Just because someone's wrong some of the time doesn't mean they're wrong all the time, though.
Yeah, and of course, my response to that has always been,
even most of the time doesn't mean they're wrong all the time.
Well, my response has always been, look, even a broken clock is right.
Oh yeah,
twice a day, but that's still not
but there's
quite
more
fair.
than that too.
Yeah, because he's not just a broken clock. Sometimes, certain issues, I think I will agree with some things on. It's not you have to close that door. It's just bothering you. For example, I've always had this. A lot of people, in my opinion, have this mistaken belief that if you're winning a debate, that means you're correct. I don't know if anybody remembers being in debate club, but you could be given, the whole idea was you could be given any topic and they would tell you which side.
No, it just means you're a better debater.
Yeah. They would tell you which side you had to argue.
Yeah, winning an argument doesn't mean
you could
right.
win it. The whole point even of doing that exercise is to remind us that you can argue any point well. And if you're smart enough, or if you're a good enough debater, you can make your points about that and shift people's minds to prioritize those issues over their other ones.
Yeah.
It may not be the ones they even normally prioritize, but in that moment, that's what they're focusing on. And that's what makes you a good debater. So I actually think Ben Shapiro's a pretty good debater at times. And I think Jordan Peterson's a good debater as well.
Sometimes.
I think a lot of people confuse good debating with being correct.
Right.
Yes. And I think in terms of my opinion about whether they're correct about some things, I'll put it more as whether I'm agreeing. I find myself agreeing. It just depends on the thing they're talking about.
Right.
You know, there's a guy out there named Matt Walsh. Now, I don't know if you've seen this guy.
No.
He's another like kind of right-wing personality. He goes around saying a whole bunch of stuff I don't agree with. And then every once in a while, he says something I totally agree with. And it's like, it causes a cognitive dissonance. I think we have to learn not to let that cognitive dissonance make us more polarized.
Yeah, or make us dismiss someone out of hand because there are certain things that you disagree with.
Yeah.
And I should say, since we're talking about all these kind of, what are they called? Like the dark web people? Is it the dark web? The intellectual dark web? I don't know if, I think, well, Jordan Peterson definitely has been associated with it. I don't know that he counts. So the list of questions that I found, the first result I found was on Reddit by Sam Harris. And he, like, before listing the questions, he says, I just finished The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, which is hosted by Megan Phelps-Roper. It's a very interesting listen. And then he talks about how great this list of questions is. And I thought they were a great set of questions worth sharing here for anyone who hasn't come across them yet. So Sam Harris, I would say, can be a controversial figure sometimes. Like, there are lots of people who just dismiss him out of hand because of, I actually kind of forget right now what it was, but there was something that at one point made everybody be like, oh no, Sam Harris is bad.
The fact that someone can say something and now they're bad, that's kind of crazy to me. It doesn't even matter what that one thing they say is. I just have a problem with that. That's not nuanced.
But I will say that, like,
I'm going to say right now, same with J.K. Rowling, whether you agree or not with what she said, if she says this thing and has this belief about something, she's bad now. I understand it's easy to be emotionally triggered by someone you look up to and you care about, or who has had such an impact on your life, and you want them to share all your beliefs. And it seems like maybe they did because they created this thing that was so special to you. But like, all your heroes are humans and they have their own beliefs, and their beliefs might conflict with yours. You might even think that their beliefs can cause pain or damage. It's still important to understand that a person isn't that one belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think that how much people are willing to engage with deliberate doubt, or how much they're willing to question their own beliefs, or like, you'll see the people who will go back and be like, oh, you know what, I used to think this, but I think, and they have a more nuanced belief system. Not to be like, Sam Harris, it's amazing, but like, I do know that I have listened to enough of his stuff, I've read enough of his books to know that, like, even if I don't agree with whatever results he's come to, I do think that he goes through questioning how he believes something and all of that stuff. And I think that's a respectable position to have. I do think that those people will naturally have less followers because they're not offering you easy answers most of the time, because they have more nuanced answers. Like, how many followers do you have, Josh? Not that many, because you're not giving us any certainties. You're not like, you guys want to know the answer? It's just like,
people love answers. That's why the Bible has so many followers.
Yeah,
it's the answers, even though it still has to be interpreted.
It barely makes any sense. Yeah.
Well, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Little words in my mouth.
You know what? Sam Harris also has a warm place in my heart because his book was the one that got me to really question my beliefs.
Question yourself.
Yeah. And like come to better conclusions.
You know who else?
Better conclusions for myself. Yeah. What?
There's 4 other people here who are known for. Oh, look at that, Ethan in the background.
Oh, I get to see Ethan, and you get to see.
I got to see Joel. Like, hey. She's getting her Cheez-Its.
She can't hear me. You have to say hi. Ooh, Cheez-Its. That's a good snack.
Again, she sees you wave. She got it.
She sees me, but she can't hear me. Hi.
She can hear a little. She said.
Did you see the heart? Oh.
She sees the heart.
Oh.
Yeah. Look at that. If you didn't, no, we're good. We're good. So these 4 people that this article mentioned, who, you mentioned Sam Harris. Here are 4 classic people who engaged in deliberate doubt.
Is it the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse or no? Is that who you're going to mention?
You can call them that.
Is it? Wait. Let me see. Is it Dan Dennett, Christopher Hitchens, and no? Oh, those are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And Richard Dawkins. Is that his name?
No, I'm going back.
Oh my gosh. So, I don't like when everyone shows me that I'm wrong.
You're wrong about these 4. You're not wrong about. You're wrong about the ones that this article says. You're not wrong about them engaging in deliberate doubt. Those people do.
I don't know. Some of them are a bit too obnoxious, but okay. Yeah. Let's hear it. Okay.
So Socrates.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't guessing that.
The Greek philosopher known for his method of questioning.
I've never heard of him.
You've never heard of Socrates and the Socratic method, who believed that by asking questions and doubting the beliefs and assumptions of others, he could help people to think more deeply and critically about the world around them.
Oh, that's good. Good for him.
Yeah. The Socratic method.
I bet that he lived a really nice life and nobody tried to like poison him or anything. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, I bet.
Sounds good. All right, next.
I wonder if you win that bet. Galileo Galilei.
Ooh.
He's considered the father of modern observational astronomy.
He's like the microscope. Or no, not microscope. What's the one that looks into the sky? The telescope guy.
Telescope. He's known for doubting existing theories and beliefs and testing them through observation and experimentation, which helped him to make many important discoveries, including the fact that the Earth orbits the sun, which at the time was contrary to prevailing belief.
I still don't agree with that. Oh, flat earthers. That's a great example. People should be questioning their beliefs. But no, I still believe that the sun goes around the Earth. Sorry.
Nothing I can say will change your very specific belief about that.
Do you know why people were so resistant to that idea too?
Why?
Because if the Earth were not
a biblical
the center,
belief?
Yeah, it was kind of like a biblical thing. Like if the Earth were no longer the center, then you had to look outside of our world for the center. You know what? I'm not explaining this well.
No, I
There's a
understand what
better
you're saying.
reason. Yeah, do you? Okay, great. How about you
It
make
was
the
like we're
points?
not the center of the universe, basically.
Yeah.
Again, we start to understand why people are so triggered and they fight sometimes changing their beliefs because it's part of their identity.
Yeah, definitely.
And when something is part of your identity, and we can get into that, let's get into that after.
Okay.
What it means to have something, to have a belief and then make it your identity.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem. Also, there's Marie Curie, the Polish French physicist and chemist.
Finally a woman. I was waiting for this.
Yeah, known for her pioneering work in radioactivity.
Yeah.
She was also the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only person to win Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields.
Nice.
Physics and chemistry. She was a practitioner of deliberate doubt, known for her ability to challenge existing theories and beliefs and to seek out new evidence to support her ideas. And then finally, drum roll. I don't hear.
Did you hear it? No. Okay. Well, I was tapping on the desk. Okay.
I didn't hear it at all. Albert Einstein. The most famous, an uncanny ability to think outside the box and challenge existing theories and beliefs.
Was he kind of a dick? Like, do we really?
I don't know if he was.
All right, sorry.
But in his own words to a journalist at Life magazine,
we should challenge that belief. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
He said, the important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. One of the things that I've always loved in our Judaic beliefs, for example, is that question everything. In fact, it's something that I like that aspect of it. I like that aspect. That being said, it is
question everything, but don't act on your questioning because you still need to.
Well, that's where the interpretation comes in that I have an issue with. But sometimes you question things and it's like, oh, determine that this doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyways, these are just some famous people that, again, part of what made them famous and made them have such an impact is they practiced deliberate doubt.
Nice.
They even talked about doing that. The importance of questioning not just everything around them, but questioning their own beliefs helped them arrive at better answers.
Yeah. At like life-changing, like all of the things that these people have done have changed.
Yeah.
Either Western thought or medicine or whatever.
Science itself and the scientific method is based on deliberate doubt, right?
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You literally have to test it and retest it and then build validity and reliability through.
So you're saying the scientific method is a good thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the scientific method is a great thing because we understand that there isn't, I do have a big issue with this idea that I think I've talked about it before. I don't know if you've ever said this. You ever said, I just trust my gut. My gut's always right.
Not often, but I should trust my gut more than I ever have. Like, that was weird. I feel like there is some trusting your gut. There is okay, you know what? I think you should listen to your gut. I don't think you should trust your gut necessarily, but you should listen to it.
Okay.
And then apply logic to what your gut is telling you.
Yeah, for good gut health, you should listen to it.
Listen to it. Yeah. Like maybe you don't need a ghost pepper on your sandwich. Maybe that's not what your gut wants. I'm sorry. I know we're talking about something serious. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who trust their gut, and obviously we're not those people, but like people who
I mean, we may sometimes
maybe
be
we are sometimes.
Without realizing it. It's important to understand that we might be.
I will often, like if someone asks me, why do you think that? I'll be like, I guess I just have a feeling. And then I will be quick to question it. I feel I am going to trust.
I mean, I do believe that when you are a person who engages in deliberate doubt and critical thinking, and you're attuned to finding out the answer or finding out answers in that way, then you can more trust your gut because your gut is kind of, basically we're saying it's kind of like your subconscious is
made up of different things. It's not just made of like emotion.
I'm saying you're kind of already doing that sometimes without realizing it. So your gut actually might be more likely to be correct.
Yeah, my gut's great.
Basically, your gut instincts become better.
Right.
The more knowledge you gain and the more you learn how to learn.
That's right. Do we just choose this topic to like toot our own horns?
Well, I'm not saying we do it perfectly.
Also, I wanted to say something and now oh yeah, I do want to mention. So when I was saying I want to trust my gut more, I just want to clarify this because I feel like for a good portion of my life, I ignored any emotional responses or any emotional judgments because those were not meant, or maybe I didn't, maybe I thought I did. But anyways, like I think that emotional judgments are often dismissed because they're not logical. And I think that often the things that we think and this isn't just something I think, but this is something that I've read about, like often we'll have an emotional response to something and then our brain will be like, why do I think this? And it'll find a reason. So it'll go backwards.
Yeah, you justify after the fact.
Going backwards from the emotion. Like, okay, I don't like this person. Why don't you like? Oh, because of this and this and this. But those things came after the feeling.
Exactly.
So like sometimes you lead with a feeling, which I think is just something to recognize when you are questioning your own beliefs, because
and it can be problematic. Like it
can be problematic, but it's also good to just recognize that feelings are an important part of a lot of things, and you don't dismiss those either, just like you don't dismiss,
not to dismiss it, but you have to put them in context and understand them. And the hardest thing for people is to see themselves in third person, to stand outside of yourself and see yourself as one of a number of people. It's a very difficult thing to do because you're only you. But you just have to kind of use your imagination and understand that, wow, other people are similar and different in various ways. Once you kind of get more objective about that and you see yourself as this, like, sure, you're special like other people are and you're flawed like other people are. Understanding that actually will make you respond better to the world, because when you know your flaws and you understand where you could be wrong or where you tend to be emotionally reactive or something like that, your communication gets better. And you can also account for those flaws.
Right.
So as a director, as someone who makes movies.
Oh, do you make movies?
I don't know if you knew this. I make movies.
I never mentioned that ever. No.
As a director, I need to kind of be in charge of a lot of different moving parts and pieces. And I need to be able to communicate with a lot of different areas, whether it's camera, sound, actors, production design. And I have to recognize what I am and I'm not good at. I work very hard to be good at communicating with those people who are good at these things, because I understand that I am not an amazing sound designer or an amazing camera operator. I have certain things that I'm better at and certain things that I'm not. And in understanding those things and questioning myself, I have now been able to find people who are good at those things and be able to work with them to make something that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. And that requires taking kind of a harsh look at yourself as well. Like maybe it's not what you wanted to think of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a harsh look at yourself. Yeah. It's true. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. And like kind of building on what we were talking about with your gut again, or like your instinct. It's important to know what your emotions are, but it's also important to examine them. So like, don't just be like, oh, that's just my stomach saying things. It's also important to say like, why is this happening? So treat it the same way you treat any belief.
Yeah.
Treat your emotions like you treat beliefs. Like, it's good to examine them.
Yeah. Are you having a response because you're correct in thinking that, or is it a trauma response from projecting onto somebody from something else happening?
Yeah.
You need to do an analysis of yourself. And what's that word where you have to kind of self-analysis and appraisal. I don't know.
Self-awareness,
it requires self-awareness.
Examination.
Yeah.
You made a movement there that already.
Yeah, I kind of imagine
like
it's kind of like
a body
kind of like
scan.
A self-scan, like processing.
Yeah, just like, what's this? What's happening here? Yeah.
Before you proceed,
yes,
just scan for viruses and make sure everything's exactly. See if there's no operating errors.
Exactly. Before you download a file, you scan it for viruses.
Yeah, and again, we're much better doing that with other people than ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes we are. Sometimes we're like. I think it's also important to see when someone has a belief that you're like, why would you think that? To be like sympathetic to, oh, maybe because they've had this experience in their life, they're more likely to feel this way. I think just having that same kind of like an empathetic deliberate doubt. Empathetic examination. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
Take a side seat, deliberate doubt. Here's empathetic examination.
Aya Ishai, 2023.
Yeah. Empathetic examination of other people's beliefs as well as your own.
Yeah. Yeah. So getting back to the identity thing, right? So let's I'll get into it because it is uncomfortable.
Okay.
For a variety of reasons based on
what's happening. Yeah. Okay.
My own beliefs and what other people might think. But my religious beliefs, let's say, right? Someone recently said to me, they're like, Josh, you're quite religious, right? From knowing me, they believed.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was actually someone I worked on because I've been making this TV show for a while. I told you about called
Black Sheep.
Black Sheep. It was originally titled Unorthodox until a show called Unorthodox came out.
Yeah.
And it involved the world of Orthodox Jews and the Russian mafia.
Right.
I really got to explore a lot of Jewish themes while making this show and really kind of dive into all of my Jewish knowledge and put it to this kind of use artistically, which felt very cathartic in that way.
Yeah.
But in all that knowledge that I had and the stuff and the way that I wanted to tell the story and certain things I did or didn't want to appear a certain way, one of my team members had said, like, Josh, you're obviously very religious.
Mm-hmm.
My immediate response was, I'm not, I'm not religious. What are you talking about? But then it was like, I mean, I'm not. I'm not anti. And then I started to flip back and forth on it, thinking like, oh my God, which is the right answer to this?
Mm-hmm.
What's the more wrong thing? Like, what do I identify as? And I realized that's a word that's a very like strong
identity.
identifier.
Yeah.
Well, that I'm saying,
Oh,
like,
okay.
be religious.
Right.
What does it mean to
Oh,
be
I see.
religious? And, do you believe or don't you believe
Mm.
in it? Do you strongly believe in your faith or do you not? The truth is, over time, the more I've questioned things, the less, I guess I would say, religious I've become, in the sense that my brain, I'm sorry, like, if God gave me a brain, then this is what it's doing. And it's come to operate on a certain type of logic and questioning. Something has to make logical sense within the world that I live in, not a world that I'm just reading about.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've come to do is I go, things that make sense
Mm-hmm.
to me, and do unto others, or actually the Jewish view of that is that which is hateful to you, don't do unto others.
Mm-hmm.
That's empathy. Wow, okay, that matches up with my worldview.
Right.
I like that. That I'm keeping in the box when I'm, the stuff where there's issue with homosexuality, and that's not going in the box. That goes against my empathetic views, and it doesn't logically make sense to me. So I've had to question, if I'm being honest, I questioned those religious beliefs and those words, kind of like Megan Phelps-Roper in the Westboro Baptist Church. And I would like to say, I'm not comparing Jews to the Westboro Baptist Church, okay? I do think there is also a nuance and differences between the extremes of different beliefs and belief systems. To be fair, there are some Jewish sects that do have.
Oh, yeah. Like the ultra-Orthodox.
Certain types of ultra-Orthodox, then types of ultra-Orthodox sects. Particularly, I think the show Unorthodox was about one of those types of sects. Not mine, but the one that came out. Again, it's a little bit of a minefield talking about some of this stuff because it could be offensive to other people. It feels like I'm infringing maybe on somebody else's identity. Like when you hear this, I know that because
I'm offended.
I can imagine feeling a little.
I thought that we started this as like religious Jewish friends.
Again, I don't.
And here we are. And you're a traitor to our people, Josh. I'm sorry. I'll stop making jokes. This is what I do and I'm uncomfortable.
No, make the jokes.
Go for it.
I understand that it can be uncomfortable both for someone to hear this and for me to say some of this.
Oh, it's not actually uncomfortable for me. I just mean like,
yeah, well, for me it is.
It's uncomfortable for me thinking about how you feel saying this on a podcast that people that know you listen to.
Yeah.
People who know you as like a nice Jewish boy.
Sure. For all I know, the rabbi's listening to this from back home, who I respect a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's thinking, oh, Josh.
I hope he's not listening to this.
I had so much hope for you.
Yeah.
And now you're going in the wrong direction.
Here you are using your brain. How dare you?
I'm just saying that's where I go. There's a sense of disappointing your community. And
yeah.
There's a lot of really good people that may not share certain beliefs. And your beliefs can shift and grow away from those people. And I personally maintain respect for an individual, even if I don't agree with them. And sometimes, and this is where a lot of people don't agree with me. I don't believe in and I think Megan Phelps-Roper talked about this. I don't believe in cutting people out of my life because they disagree with me, even if they have a belief that is potentially damaging. Now, of course, that's easy to say when it's not damaging about you. Like, I'm not gay. So if I have a friend who seems to have homophobic beliefs, it's a little easier for me to say that, right? But I've maintained friendships with people who've had some somewhat anti-Semitic beliefs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Josh, like, are you really that Jewish anymore? You just talked about how your beliefs are not. No, I still maintain the identity.
Still culturally identified as.
Culturally, and I don't know. I pick and choose. I don't even like the word religious. I'd like to believe in this higher power, all this other stuff. We can get to.
Would you?
That in another episode. I mean, that would be nice if we had this like purpose.
I would have a really hard time believing in a person who lets all this stuff happen. No way.
That's another thing. That's something else.
He's either a dick or he's not that powerful. Those are the only options.
I think those are real, genuine, honest responses about how you feel about something, and telling people they can't question that or feel that. That's authoritarian.
Right.
And you know what? You're expressing a real frustration. And any person, any religious person, any rabbi or anybody who was to tell you, hey, you can't say that. That's
Yeah.
clearly where you need to come over here. I'll tell you the truth. Like, sorry, no one knows.
Yeah.
No one knows. You weren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You weren't there for maybe you heard from a guy who heard from a guy who heard from a guy times 1,000. But anyways, yeah, we're diving deeper into that. But
We'll
anyways,
do
my
God
point,
next time. That's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
my point being there is often these beliefs we have are tied and intertwined with identity.
Right. Yeah.
And once you make something your identity, it's much, much harder to change your belief about something.
And why is that?
And I think we have to be very, very careful about doing that, about making a belief an identity.
Right.
And the problem is we all crave identity.
Hard not to, though. It's hard not to.
Because we find community and identity in belief.
So many communities are built on a similar identity or a similar belief, which becomes your identity. Yeah.
Maybe you have no friends, right? Nobody likes you. Nobody wants to talk to you. And suddenly you find this community that welcomes you.
Yeah.
And it's all about how
all you needed was deodorant, but they're like, you know what? If you have Jesus, you're great. And they're like, all right. Sorry. I keep shitting on
Oh
Jesus.
my God. Well, the community could be, this is about bringing back like, hey, the reason you're feeling the way that you feel is because you don't have an identity, is because we've lost the white male identity.
Yikes. Okay.
I mean, you're saying yikes. And yes, there's something to be yikes here about, but there's also something to listen to, right?
Right. Okay.
Where there are people who are feeling this loss of identity, and they find community in people who,
right, all those incels
who start celebrating. And again, you went right to incels too.
I did go right to, you know what? Yeah. This is a good example of me having like a set, like, anything related to that. You guys suck. Yeah, that's true. I should be careful.
Because immediately your mind is like white male already, right? Lately, that's been evil.
Ooh, boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo, white male.
White man. Everything's right.
You've been in charge of everything. Well, to be fair, a lot of these people haven't. They're like, well, you have privilege. They're like, I don't. It's hard for me to see that. It's a little more nuanced to talk about that. But yes, I haven't been pulled over by the cops as much, and I could potentially get a job more easily. And all those things might be true, but they also might just be individually having crappy lives. So that doesn't speak to some of these individuals, right? For them, they want to celebrate an identity, and they don't seem to have one, because let's be honest, being part of the Jewish people and being part of this persecuted group of people feels kind of nice. Like, I kind of...
Oh, are you a fan?
I kind of like... I know that sounds weird. Yeah, but I like it. It feels... I feel special. I'm one of the chosen people, Aya. It's nice.
I don't know that you specifically were chosen.
It always reminds me of Fiddler on the Roof, right? Where it's like,
can't you choose someone else sometimes or something like
God,
that?
I know we are the chosen people, but for once, maybe you could just choose somebody else.
Yeah, chosen for what?
Yeah, chosen for what, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about identity at some point. I think that's one of our things on the list to come. Not to say like, don't talk about it anymore, but yeah, you're right. It's
the important thing to point out there is you're talking about questioning beliefs. That's one of the most difficult beliefs, because it was intertwined with my identity. We went to Hebrew school, where all it was about our Jewish beliefs, and what we learned was very intertwined with, like, we didn't just learn math, we learned not to date not Jewish. Like, oh my God.
Whoops, that didn't work on either of us.
Yeah, but let's be honest, I don't know about you, but there's a discomfort in the back of my head thanks to that, because even though I've shifted beliefs on a lot of things, it feels the emotion isn't gone from that, from the I'm doing something a little wrong here and there. Like, it's
what makes it so good.
I mean, yeah, it's a little wrong. It's what makes it so good. It's wrong, but it feels so right. But it all started from having to take a hard look at those core beliefs. Like, Megan Phelps-Roper wouldn't question a couple core beliefs until she did. That's when everything came crumbling for her. I'm not going to say like everything came crumbling around me. I didn't have,
but a lot crumbles.
Stuff did crumble a bit. Like some stuff now, it just doesn't seem logical. Like, I live in this world, and sometimes things mesh and some things don't. But the goodness and the community and the empathetic values I hold on to, because there's many ways of teaching empathy, right? And as long as you get it, as long as it's conveyed to you, even if it takes these stories or this belief system.
Although I don't know how great it is to tell a bunch of people they're the chosen people. Oh, you're chosen. Like, fuck that. Like, that's not great for developing empathy. We get to think that we're the most persecuted people. I mean, that's not conducive to...
I mean, it's good for some things. It's good for maybe having confidence in yourself and having a sense of self and identity.
I don't have any of those things.
It's not true, though. When you meet other people who don't have... Like, I had a friend who's a Chinese friend who said to me once, the guy I went to USC with, he saw the community around me and the Jewish community. And he was like, you are so lucky that you have this. Where he was from, he's like, I don't have that. Like, he said, like, Chinese people don't have this. I don't know if that's true of all Chinese people, but that's what he said.
Yeah.
He's like, Chinese people don't have this kind of thing. Like, this is amazing. He recognized that would have that gives you something to be a part of that. Yeah, being a part of a community can be a really strong thing. It's just a matter is like when you have community beliefs, that's a dangerous thing sometimes, when those beliefs are potentially damaging because you made them now part of your identity. So those are the hardest ones to kind of unentangle. And when you're questioning your own beliefs, yeah, it's uncomfortable to go deep, but there is a benefit of getting uncomfortable. More of the world opens up to you. And I think you'll have a more healthy mental state and make healthier connections with other people.
That's great. Yeah, that's very eloquent. Josh, you should be exhausted more often. That was great.
Oh my
Good
God.
stuff. Yeah, I feel like there's so much to say, but also like hard not to get into other big topics without
Can I ask you one last question?
Oh, yep.
Are there any downsides, negatives of deliberate doubt?
Oh.
Is it a good thing to always have this?
Well, I think what we said also is that it's not indiscriminate doubt, right? Deliberate means that you're making a choice of when it's a focused doubt on specific things, and it's not all the time and for everything. I do think that it's a good thing when you're willing to test your beliefs and be open to ideas. It can be counterproductive. You kind of have to balance some, not certainty, I know, but that's...
You need to strike a balance between doubt and certainty.
Or like even just, some kind of certainty, because otherwise you're just... I feel like you'd be stuck in a limbo all the time, just unable to make any decisions about anything if you're constantly questioning everything.
Yeah, let's say you're trying to write a novel, Aya. You need to have some certainty with where you're going if you're constantly doubting every choice you're making.
And this is part of why I take so long for everything. I'm always doubting.
Too much doubt.
I'm just like really good at questioning things, you guys. I just like doubt so much just to apply my critical thinking skills constantly. And no, but honestly,
how do you move
like
forward,
even just writing a sentence, I'll be like, oh wait, should it be this word? Should it be that word? Should it be this word?
I'm like that too, though.
Yeah, I know. That's why when we do something together, your like specificity about words will like trigger my own anxiety about like, there's no right word.
But I think I'm a little better when it comes to, I don't know, I've gotten into, no, I'm saying when it comes to like,
actually,
when I get to like directing movies and writing stories like that, I do make decisions, I think.
No, I know.
And I try to be certain about my direction. And then you have to hold that for a long time when you're making a project over, let's say, months or even years.
You have to ignore a lot of little like nagging doubts for a while when you're just like, I've chosen this, I'm just going to keep going with it, and I'll see where I get to, and then later you can entertain those different questions.
I mean, imagine being that doubtful during the editing process too, where people start cutting the shit out of their movie because they're like, I don't know anymore.
I know.
And they can't make a decision on what the edit should be. That's another facet, you know?
Yeah. And can I use a little quote from that Ness Labs article?
Yeah.
Dance with uncertainty. Find a balance between doubt and certainty. So like dance with uncertainty. That's kind of a fun, like you dance with them, then you kind of go over here, and then you're like, I don't know. That's not that great.
I like that.
And the next, are you going to say the next one? What were you going to say?
I have one too from there.
Yeah. Is it used doubt as a tool, not as a weapon?
Yes, it was, Aya. Exactly what it is. Because when we use doubt as a weapon, it can lead to a lack of confidence in ourselves and trust in others.
Well, you're just reading this.
Yeah.
You have to say if you're reading it.
Oh,
you have to quote.
Do I have
properly,
to?
Josh?
Quote unquote.
Yes, because otherwise you're taking credit for this.
2 sentences. I just said it was
you
from...
say, as it says in here, when we use doubt as a weapon, but you have to read it in like a quote voice. Otherwise, it sounds like you're saying that. Unless you're rephrasing it.
But everything I said has been just reading off of this.
Oh my God.
I'm just
this
kidding.
whole
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I know.
How did it know about my Jewish identity?
Yeah, I knew everything.
Okay,
yeah.
What it says here after saying use doubt as a tool, not as a weapon. When we use doubt as a weapon, it can lead to a lack of confidence in ourselves and trust in others. When practicing deliberate doubt, it is important to use it as a tool to stimulate creative thinking and exploration, rather than as a means of undermining ourselves or others.
And the idea is to like look for, you're building something together and not trying to break things down only.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that'll require undoing things or untangling things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we might as well say the third one of these.
Do you want to do the last one? How about you do it? Because I stole the second one from you.
That's okay. You do it.
Okay. Sure, I will. Seek out diverse. So this is a quote from Ness Labs. Seek out diverse perspectives and experiences. By exposing ourselves to different viewpoints, we can broaden our understanding of the world and challenge our assumptions. This can help us to develop a more nuanced understanding of a topic and generate new ideas. Nuanced is Josh's favorite word.
Yeah.
And also like challenging our assumptions. So like when you're assuming something, right? As
don't make an ass out of you and me.
Yeah, exactly.
So listen to Jordan Peterson if you're on the left, and listen to Ben Shapiro, and listen to Donald Trump.
Oh,
Sometimes.
yeah.
I mean, he's not really an intellectual, but even he says once in a while some things I very rarely does someone say 100% things that you might disagree with. And it just for like a mental exercise, it's good to just try out seeing what you agree with from other people, and you'll find that it might humanize them a bit more, and you'll stop thinking in such a polarized way about them and yourself.
Yeah, and it might let you understand, at least, even if you don't agree with anything, it might give you some insight into why other people agree with them, or why those thoughts are so attractive to other people. Like, you don't want to just dismiss.
Yeah, maybe they're just prioritizing something else.
Right. Or maybe they see the world in a very different way based on their own experiences.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's more on the right, go listen to some Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC. That's right. That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Go listen to who's a left-wing thinker that's very controversial to people on the right.
I don't know.
Go listen to Aya Ishai on Adulthood Friends, the podcast.
Yes, go listen to me.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But I'm not.
The extreme left-wing
I'm not anything.
personality.
What's an extremely
Aya Ishai.
wing person? Oh, go listen to CBC. CBC News is like, well, the CBC is known as.
We're in America on my end, okay?
Well, go listen to the CBC. So
all of Canada is just left-wing to America.
That is true. Yeah, that's mostly accurate.
Go listen to people from other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up our usual way, I actually have a letter from one of our fans.
What?
It's not a letter, it's a message, and it's from one of my friends who listens, but I'm going to call it a fan letter.
Okay.
So this is from Dave Poisson.
Okay.
Who we both worked with at the library.
That's true.
And well, first of all, I will just say that he loves the show, as he's told me. And I didn't tell him there was a new episode, but I just got a text from him saying, "New AF, Adulthood Friends. Awesome." And he's excited that there's more coming. And then he also said, by the way, Josh's idea about not blinking is the same plot as a Doctor Who episode.
Oh my, I know about the Doctor Who thing.
And I said, lol, please tell him that. Or sorry, LOL, please tell him that. And he said, I figured you'd do it for me. So here it is. I'm telling you about the Doctor Who episode.
Everybody's brought up the Doctor Who thing. You don't.
All right. Well, I don't know. I didn't know about the Doctor Who episode. So here we are. It's just a letter from a fan.
I brought up a horror movie concept that I've written that has some similarities to a Doctor Who episode, but I also know the differences. Okay. Which I found out about after. But that's different. That's like when you look away or something. This is specifically about blinking and your eyes being closed whenever the eye closes. Right. This thing comes after you.
But I think that episode is called Blink. I just thought I'd inform you.
The episode's called Blink, yes.
And I'm sorry that I did that. I'm actually not sorry I did it on air. I obviously did that on purpose. Yeah, so that's that. And if you ever have any letters from fans, feel free to share. Josh.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
He also said he loves the pod.
I like that he gave us we've been acronymed. We're AF.
Yeah, we've been acronymed.
For a second, I thought you were saying as fuck.
Oh, no. New Adulthood Friends. New AF. Yeah.
It's new as fuck.
Yeah. Well, it was that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry to end on that note because now I feel like I was trying to out you.
Are you doubting? Are you deliberately doubting?
I'm doubting. I'm doubting whether I should have done that because now I feel like, but I think it was also to show you that we have fans.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
And I appreciate that. It's funny because he doesn't know that I've heard this more than a few times from people and I've talked about this.
Well, now he'll hear about.
And it's kind of a funny thing where every time you come up with an idea, someone finds, like when I told you about the F minor concept, and you're like, oh, that It's Always Sunny episode. It's the same thing. Yeah. Usually, if you come up with an idea, there's another movie out there that did the idea. And if you come up with an obscure idea, there's an episode of a TV show that did it, probably.
That's funny. Well, good. Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. And I'll keep that in mind when people are like, oh, yeah, they did that on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This has been another episode of Adulthood Friends. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this one, please listen to our other episodes. We have 58 other episodes just floating around there. And we also have, well, they're not floating. They're actually in very specific places, which are everywhere. They are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Undercast, YouTube.
Have you ever used Overcast?
No, but I know that it exists. Undercast doesn't. I keep saying that.
Undercast is a thing you make up.
It's a thing I make
and
up,
it's on, YouTube now.
Sidecast.
Nope.
Swingcast.
Nope. No.
Uppercast. Lowercast.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm so sorry. We're anywhere you want to listen. Amazon Music, probably. Are we?
Yeah, we're on. Yeah,
we are.
Okay. On Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah,
just checking.
We're on Audible.
Yes, Audible as well.
Audible's an important one. Yeah.
That is an important one. So
I don't think we
please,
mentioned that usually, but yeah, we should mention Audible.
if you want to listen, if you want to rate us, if you want to give us stars, unless you don't like us, in which case, like, you don't need to.
We put Spotify questions that you can answer every
Josh puts
episode too.
questions.
Yeah.
By the way, I wrote a comment. Did you see?
Did I see?
Or someone wrote a comment on our like Spotify thing. Did you see?
Oh yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah, it seems kind of rude actually, but
what do they say?
Well, I guess you can check next time.
What do they say?
That's fine. I don't know. I don't wanna...
Well, now I need to know.
I don't want to say it. I already commented. Now it seems like I don't know. You'll see. So go check out the comments that are already there. If you're curious, as Josh now is, go check out the comments that are there and add your own. Feel free to add your own. And yeah, we also have a Facebook page. So Josh is pretty good at keeping all that stuff updated. So feel free to follow,
like,
or not, or just listen to this, or don't listen. You know what? You're free to live your life. I hope that you know that you should live your life as you wish.
Yeah. And we hope this episode has stimulated your brain.
Yeah.
Your brains, your collective brains, and made you maybe ask yourselves what beliefs you may hold that perhaps you should question. And obviously the hardest ones will be your most core beliefs.
Yeah. Your most treasured beliefs.
So I believe in this strongly, but for all we know, we have some pretty core beliefs we still haven't questioned. So
yeah, probably.
I'm going to go and think about that, Aya.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I'm going to think about what yours might be. You think about mine. No,
I'll think about what mine might be, and you can think about what mine might be.
Okay. I'll try to think about what mine might be.
You're very good at questioning my beliefs.
It's always easier at someone else for someone else's.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, look at that bunny. Look at that bunny right over there.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Yeah, there's a bunny.
Yeah, he's very
cute. Okay, how do we usually end this thing?
Someone's talking and then it just... La 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 la. Hey. Boop be doo be doo boop be boo. Do you want to contribute to this?
Nope.
Oh. Boop be doo be doo boop be doo. Little bunny. Okay.